brains trick us in staying broke? Because based on historical past with our families and predicting the future, a lot of people think I can never make money. How can we change that? And why do our brains trick us into thinking we will always be broke if we don't have money?
I think so much of this is the value of comparison and expectations, because there's no such thing as an objective measure of wealth. There's no such thing as once you have X dollars, everything will be okay. Everything is just relative to the other person next to you. How much do I have relative to you, relative to that person? So in a world where things tend to get better for most people, not everybody, but we tend to get richer over the generations. Well, if you're just comparing yourself to your peers, then if you get richer, but your peers do as well, you went nowhere. And so that's the thing. That's why you can look at, the average median income adjusted for inflation has doubled since our grandparents' generation.
Really?
Adjusted for inflation. But we don't feel any better off at all, because now look, we're living in bigger houses, driving nicer cars, but so are our peers. So relative to them, we've gone nowhere. And
Really?
you can easily imagine a world in which our grandkids are living twice as well as us. And they don't feel any better off either.
And that's all based on comparison?
It's all because you're comparing, and it makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. Like, it doesn't matter how many resources I have. What matters is that I have more than you, more than the next guy.
Really?
There's that joke about, like, there's two hikers being chased by a bear, and then one of the guys starts running, and his friend says, "You idiot, you can't outrun a bear." And his friend says, "I don't need to outrun the bear, I just need to outrun you."
Wow.
And that's money too. That's what it is. And so it really is, it's a sad thing to ponder, that you can live in a world where everything gets better and you don't appreciate any of it because you expected all of it. But it's happened forever, and I think it will happen forever.
Really? So this
Yeah.
is like a psychological safety? Is that what this is?
It's just general social comparison.
Really?
And I mean, there's the Chris Rock joke where he says if Bill Gates woke up with Oprah's money, he'd jump out the window. Because who is a billionaire comparing himself to? Other billionaires. That's it. And like, I've also thought about the minimum wage in Major League Baseball, I think is $500,000 a year. By any metric, a lot of money. But do you think the guy who's playing for the Yankees making $500K feels like he's crushing it?
No.
No, he's playing with all of his peers who are making 10, 20, 30 million a year. So even if by any definition he's in the tippy top of income, you don't feel like it.
Based on the book, Same as Ever, and connecting it to psychology of money, what are the top 3 patterns that are keeping people broke consistently versus the top 3 patterns that are making people rich?
I think the top things that make people broke, number one, the most important, this might seem like a cop-out of an answer, it's they don't have enough luck. I mean, that's so much of it. I know so many people who would disagree with that statement. So if you do disagree with that, I get it. But I think, like I said earlier, in any kind of extreme success, even mine, and I would venture to say yours too, if you're really honest about connecting the dots in the past, you would say that there's this thing that happened to me that I never planned on. I did not strategize this. It just kind of happened to me. As I said, even if that thing is you were born in the right era.
Right.
And so that's a big part of it that I think is too easy to ignore. The second is, I think, some form of short-termism, whatever it is.
What does
I heard
that
this
mean?
great story from Mr. Beast recently where he said, when people who have YouTube channels come to him for advice, and I'm sure a lot of them do, he tells everybody the same thing. He says, go make 100 videos and then come back to me. And he said that 99 of those people will give up before they make 100 videos. And the person who actually makes it to 100 doesn't need his advice
Doesn't need to
anymore.
go back, yeah.
And so I think but the fact that 99 of them gave up is I mean, that's really what it is. It's just like, do you have the endurance, if not stubbornness, to keep it going? In any business endeavor, in any investing endeavor, what you're really getting paid for is to put up with uncertainty and pain. And most people they realize that they're going to cry uncle sooner than they thought. And that's okay. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of.
Right.
But the people who don't make it are the ones or the people who do make it are the ones who are just like, I have such a high tolerance for pain. Mm-hmm. I've heard this about Navy SEALs too, that when Navy SEALs start, you got the big, burly, 6'4", bulging guys. And then you got the skinny little guys who are like 5'7" and kind of pudgy. There is no telling early on which one of those people are going to make it, because what actually is going to help you to make it, to actually get to the finish line, is just your tolerance for pain.
That's it, man.
And the scrawny guy might have a super tolerance for pain. I remember when Obama met the Navy SEALs who killed bin Laden, he had this comment where he was like, I was stunned at how ordinary
They just look like
looked.
average dudes. Yeah,
He said half of them could have been like high school principals.
exactly.
But their tolerance for pain was off the chart, and that's why they got where they were. And I think that's a great analogy for people who make it in business and investing in any career.
That's amazing. So that was, you said luck, short-termism. What was the third one? The tolerance and pain?
I think, yeah. That's that. I would put them in those order, in that order of what it is.
It's interesting you say that because people come to me all the time when they want to launch a podcast. I'm 10 years in and start 10 years this year. And they're like, what's the secret? And I go, to be honest, like I've just been showing up 3 times a week for 10 years.
Yeah.
I wish I was a lot smarter than I am. Like I'm not as smart as a lot of people who are launching shows and going super viral and building it really quickly. I've just showed up consistently and tried to be better every time. I've tried to improve myself. I try to learn, I try to research, and I just keep showing up. And a lot of people do it for 6 months, 2 years, and they stop.
Yeah.
Or whatever. They want to grow faster than they are, and they get discouraged. And I'm like, okay, I just kind of ride the waves.
Yeah. Before I wrote a book, I wrote 3,500 blog posts over the course of 17 years.
Right.
Of those 3,500, I think 3,000 of them sucked.
Yeah.
And I would admit that they sucked. So the pain and the endurance that it took to get to that point where I was like, okay, now I think I'm ready to write a book.
17 years.
17 years, yeah. And I probably could have written a book after year 5 or something,
Right.
but it wouldn't have been very good. To get to a point where I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to do this was 17 years of writing every single day.
And even then, the book could have done 5,000 sales.
Absolutely. That's what we thought it would do.
Wow.
And I see this a lot with new bloggers as well, where they'll be like, I started a blog and I wrote 2 posts and nobody read it, so I gave up. And I'm like, yeah, you got to write 3,000 more. And by the way, if you can keep that up, people are going to tell every day, they're going to tell you how dumb you are, how bad of a writer you are, and you just got to bite your lip and endure it.
Endure it. Yeah, because it's like the first year, you're not going to get a lot of praise. Maybe once in a blue moon, there's a few people that like are just incredible writers and they get viral or something, but that's very rare.
Yeah.
It's like you have to go through a year of no one watching, listening, or reading your stuff.
Or not even 1, maybe 10 years.
Might be 10 years.
It might be 10 years. Now, I think
you may not just be that good either.
That's the thing.
You've got to know if you actually got some skill or not.
So how do you determine what is patience versus stubbornness?
Right.
Maybe it's like, no, keep going and you'll get there, versus like, hey, this isn't your thing. You should quit and give up.
When do we know that?
I think with hindsight is when we know that. I'm not sure there's actually a good way to know it. And I think there have been things in my life where I was stubborn and not patient. There have been other things where I look back and I'm like, oh, I was appropriately patient. But other things, it's like, man, I wish I would have kind of quit before that, particularly like different styles of writing that I've experimented with.
I mean, but Morgan, you seem like the most, consistent human. 17 years, 3,500 plus articles. You've invested for 20 years the same way. You probably have everything automatic payments coming through in all these different places. Like you seem organized, you seem structured, you seem humble. You focus on values, family, relationships, not trying to be powerful or have status, things like these things. But what is your biggest weakness?
Oh, I think I'm definitely a worst case scenario thinker. And I definitely, including recently this week, can become kind of wrapped up in stress and anxiety.
Really?
Which I think virtually everyone listening to this has some degree of that. Mine's probably a little bit above average. But definitely when I look back, if I could tell myself something 20 years ago, if I could go back to 20-year-old Morgan and say something, I would be like, it's all going to work out. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun all the time, but it's all going to work out. And I look back at most of my adult life and I'm like, man, I wish I had just lightened up a little bit.
Really?
I was, including, like I said, this week, wake up at 2 a.m. fretting about something. And to an extent, I think that's good, because I think without an appropriate level of stress is a motivator. And stress is like, hey, there's a problem. How can I fix it? How can I nip this in the bud? So some stress is great, but of course you can overdo it. And that's my weakness, is blowing things out of proportion.
What is your biggest regret in the last 20 years besides overstressing? Is there anything that you feel like, oh, I could have launched this other book 5 years ago, or I should have taken this opportunity? Is there anything you have?
I think it's not even professionally, but I think there's situations where it's like, I could have and should have been nicer to that person.
Really?
And more empathetic to that person. And usually it's like, it's pretty subtle, but it's like a friend of mine was suffering and I just kind of said, oh, sorry to hear. And
Suck it up. Or
it's like, I should have at least called them another time or helped them or opened a door for them. And I think that's a regret. Like, a lot of that is because what are you proudest of in life looking back? It's like, at least for me, it's not selling books or making money. It's like, and you mentioned the story, am I helping people?
Yes.
Am I actually doing something that's worthwhile in the world? Did I actually use my time on earth to leave it a little bit better than I found it? And I think if you look back and you realize that you could have been more helpful to more people, that's I think regret's maybe a wrong word, because at the time I didn't mean any harm. I wasn't mean to them, hopefully, but I could have been better. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
But that's a worry where you're like, well, let's learn from that and try to do better.
Yeah. So even if we are going to make more money, how do we get out of this trap of feeling like we have enough, we are enough, we're making enough? How do we get out of that as opposed to just comparing to our peers?
I think there's two answers to this. At the macro, at the big level, the society level, we never will. And that's why it's in same as ever. It's been like this forever and always will. That everything is relative to other people. And look, if we were going to compare ourselves to a family 500 years ago who had 10 kids, 8 of whom died by age 2, whatever it would be, do we have less suffering today? Of course. Yeah. But still, when we are comparing how well we're doing in our prosperity, it's always relative. I think at the individual level, it is possible for some people, much easier said than done, but possible to recognize the game that's being played. And to ask yourself, do you want to use money as a tool to give yourself a better life, or as a scorecard for other people to measure you by? And most of those people are not even paying attention to you to begin with.
Right.
And that's a big part of it. You wake up every morning running as fast as you can to impress strangers who are not even thinking about you. They're busy thinking about themselves. And so I think once you identify that game, then your social aspirations can decline. Not to zero. Everyone wants to look good and be fit in and fit in with their friends, but I think they can decline, and your willingness to show off really diminishes. I heard this great phrase recently, which was, a high-end Toyota is a nicer car than an entry-level BMW, because a high-end Toyota is filled with things that make you happy. Nice seats, a good sound system, moonroof, whatever it is. The entry-level BMW is just bragging rights.
Right.
But other than that, I think you should go through life wanting the proverbial high-end Toyota. I think that it's not showing off for others, it's making you happy, rather than just trying to put up your peacock feathers to show off to people.